All right, we're about to dive into a pretty provocative and frankly complex philosophy on modern masculinity that's been making some serious waves online. Now, just to be clear, our goal here isn't to endorse this, but to really break it down, to understand the core arguments from the source material itself. So, let's get right into it.
So yeah, that deliberately shocking statement, that's the actual title of the source material. But look, once you get past that initial jolt, it's really the doorway into a very specific, and I mean very specific, way of looking at how a man should navigate the world today. So what on earth could that possibly mean?
To even begin to understand this philosophy, you have to get the premise. The speaker kicks things off with this foundational belief about the innate nature of men, and he compares it to a powerful wild animal that's been locked in a cage by society.
This slide right here really gets to the heart of it. Using analogies like a lion or even the gorilla Harambe, the speaker argues that a man's core nature, his potential for power, for action, is a morally neutral force. It's not good, it's not evil, it just is. Kind of like a lion isn't evil for having fangs and claws.
Okay, so if that's the premise, that man has this innate, powerful nature, then what's the central conflict? Well, the speaker points to what he calls a modern system, or a machine, that he believes is specifically built to stamp out this masculine energy.
And the whole goal of this system, as he sees it, is to create men who are, in his words, defanged, declawed, and neutered. He paints a picture of this form of psychological control, using some really intense metaphors like an asylum or even a concentration camp to describe a world designed to keep men tame and docile.
And these are the supposed tools the system uses. It's not just one thing, it's this whole storm of distractions and duties. You've got the 9-to-5 grind, the constant political drama, endless shows to binge. But what's really interesting is he even includes things we think of as positive self-improvement, like hitting your 10,000 steps or making your bed, arguing they're part of a perfectionism trap meant to keep a man's mind bogged down in trivial stuff.
So what happens when that masculine energy actually escapes the system, but without any kind of moral guidance? Well, the speaker gives us a cautionary tale of what he calls the unchecked animal. And his prime example is all the recent controversy around P. Diddy.
In this worldview, Diddy is the perfect example of the animal that got out of the cage but was missing a key ingredient, righteousness. He's painted as a fundamentally weak man who, once he got a taste of real power, just became a total loose cannon, enabled by the very system he escaped to just fulfill his darkest desires, leading straight to degeneracy.
So if you're a guy faced with this societal cage, what's the natural response? Well, the speaker points to a super common reaction that he claims is actually just another trap laid by the system itself, and that reaction is anger. He argues that the system basically expects and even encourages this cycle, right? It starts with you being angry at your situation, but that anger, without anywhere productive to go, just sours into frustration. Then that frustration digs in deeper and becomes depression and numbness, until finally you just give up and get right back in line. And right here, he takes a direct shot at ideologies that point all that anger towards women, arguing it's just a complete waste of energy. From his perspective, that kind of anger doesn't set you free. Nope, it just makes you a different kind of slave, reacting exactly how the system wants you to. So if getting angry is just another trap, what's the actual solution? This is where we get to the absolute core of the whole thing, the philosophy he calls retardmaxxing. Okay, let's be super clear about what he means by this term. This isn't about intelligence in the literal sense. It's about a strategic choice to reject the overanalyzing, calculating mind. It's a call to stop trying to think your way out of a problem and to start acting your way out of it, guided by more gut-level forces like joy, humor, and intuition. And this is his perfect analogy for it. The Kool-Aid man, right? The Kool-Aid man sees a wall. Does he analyze it? Does he measure it or look for a door? No, he just smashes right through it. It's a philosophy that puts immediate, decisive action way, way above endless thinking and planning. He drives this point home with an analogy from video games, specifically those brutally hard games like Bloodborne. In those games, the world is literally designed to crush you. You can't just think your way to beating the boss. You win by taking action, by failing over and over, getting your skin in the game until you, as the gamers say, simply get good.
But this whole philosophy of action, it's not just about, personal success or getting ahead. As we're about to see, the speaker frames it as something much bigger, a kind of higher, almost spiritual mission.
He takes this really famous biblical verse and flips it. He says it's not a passive little saying, it's an active mission.
It's a direct command to go out and engage with this messed up world, but without letting its systems and its values corrupt your spirit or your purpose. So the ultimate call to action here is to just reject that passive state that he thinks modern life pushes on you. It's about consciously shrugging off what he calls the coat of apathy and nihilism that the system wraps you in, and choosing instead to live a life of intentional joy, righteousness, and purposeful action.
And that all leads to this final, really provocative question that the speaker leaves us with. If you actually buy the premise that society is a kind of prison, then the mission isn't just about your own escape. It's about becoming a fisher of men, being someone who actively helps pull others out too. And that is a really challenging final thought on what the ultimate purpose of this whole worldview is.